y'all, welcome to Scrappin with Sheri, and happy Easter tomorrow. I wanted to show you a page layout that I created for fun for a challenge that I'm hosting, and I decided that I wanted to share it with you as well in light of the fact that tomorrow is Easter. So this is from lots of different collections. The embellishments, the flowers and the clouds came from the Bright Delight Secret Box that came out sometime in 2024, I believe. The eggs are made from the Rainbow Gradients Best Hits. This was the free paper pack if you bought 6 of the Rainbow Gradient paper packs. And you can see I used the front side and the back side of the same paper. The blue background is from one of the Gradient Blue collections, I believe, or maybe Shades of Blue. I'm not sure which, but I really like that. I used a blue cardstock, an orange cardstock, and then this cork-looking thing is from the Brewery pack. That was an incentive at some point that I thought I would never use, but wow, did it not make a cute basket. So I have intended this to be a double spread, and I will cut this right through the middle. And when I do that, I was thinking about where I would place photos. Now, most of my photos are like a 5 by 3.5 now. I don't do a lot of 4 by 6s anymore because I can cut them down. But I think there would be a place to put several different photos on this page. And I'm just pulling my little photo cards to show you kind of what I have in mind for photo placement. Doesn't necessarily mean it will happen that way. And I've got to get the pictures to put on here. But you can even overlap the eggs with the photos. You could turn them sideways. You could put one up here. There are several places you can put photos. And I will be cutting this basket, not in the center, but kind of offset with 2/3 here and 1/3 here, just to give me a little extra space. But I think this is a really cute layout. So let's get into me showing you how I would actually do this layout using the Springtime Soiree. So using Springtime Soiree, I have chosen this stripe because I think this is going to make really pretty Easter eggs. And then I pulled some of the craft cardstock that was from one of our cardstock buffets. And I'm going to use that to mat the Easter eggs. Do you have to mat your Easter eggs? No, but I felt like it really set it off from the background very nicely. So I'm using the large oval with the custom cutting system. This was a specialty piece. I don't think it's still available. It could be. I haven't checked that, but many of you have it and you don't use it. And for the egg, I'm going to be using the green blade on the inside track of this large oval. So I'm just making sure the prongs are in there. I'm cutting on my 13-inch mat. And I'm going to do one. And then I can also use this excess space here and do another one. So I can get 2 eggs out of one sheet. And then there's a little bit of paper left over if you needed it for matting or anything like that. I think it's a little busy on this side, so I probably wouldn't use it for matting. But some of you would. The back side is cute on this, but not quite as striking as the 2 patterns on the Rainbow Gradient Best Hits eggs that I showed you on the first layout. Now to do my matting, I'm going to stick with the oval pattern inside track, but I'm going to use the red blade this time, and that makes it just a touch bigger. And you're going to have to line up really close to your outside edges in order to get a mat without running off or without messing up one or the other. Now, I don't think I showed you on my original layout, I did goof up one of the eggs on the corner. I just tucked it behind the basket, I think, so it was fun. So don't stress it too much if you do mess it up. You can fix it, or you can hide it. That's the joys of embellishing. You see how much space I had left there? All right, so we've got 2 Easter eggs. And now I'm going to pull the paper that I'm going to use for the basket. And I decided this looked like a basket to me. I didn't have any more of the cork left, but I thought it might be really pretty to pull back in this same pattern, same colors, everything that we've used before. Now, to make the basket handle, which is what we're going to do first, we're going to use the large circle. And I don't know if you can see this or not, but my circle has dots on it. And I did that by putting it down on my mat And I put dots at my 6-inch points all over just to help me center things occasionally. So to make the handle first, I am going to slide my paper up, my circle down, and I'm just going to put these 6-inch marks right along the bottom edge of my paper. Now, I'm making sure side to side I'm pretty even because I'm not going to have a lot of wiggle room here to make the large size basket that I made before. So I'm going to cut this using the blue blade on the outside first. And when you're cutting on an edge like this, the easiest thing is to cut up and go back and then go across. If you just try to go straight up your paper, a lot of times it'll jag on that corner right there and it'll pull your paper all out of whack. So we're doing the blue blade first. Then we're going to go back and do the same thing with the red blade. And I pull down first and then I go all the way around. And that gives me my cute little skinny handle. We don't need this, but I'll probably come up with a page layout to use that as well. So don't discard it for now. And then I'm going to pull out my 12-inch trimmer. Now, with my trimmer, first thing I need to do is just trim off this leftover edge. Because I don't plan to use these 2 corners. And then I'm going to trim this down just a touch, just to make it a little less than a full-size sheet of paper. And I'm going to cut mine down to about a 3/8 inch. And let me see, that would be 4/8. So 3/8 is this first little line right here on your left-hand side. So I'm lining my paper up down on the lip. I'm checking my spacing here, and I'm just cutting off that little 3/8 of an inch. So that leaves me with 11 5/8 by about a 6, give or take. Now here I'm going to turn it this direction, and I'm going to trim 1 inch off of that. Now when I've got that 1 inch trimmed, I'm going to go back in with my corner rounder, and I'm just going to round all those little corners on that and set that to the side. Now I want the rest of my basket to be just a little bit smaller. So I'm going to trim this down just a little bit more. And I'm going to trim it to about 11 1/4. So I'm going to this little 1 mark right here. But it's about 11 1/4 to the outside edge. And I'm just going to trim that little piece off too. And then I'm going to put this tip on the cutting line. And this bottom edge is going to the 1 inch mark on my right side. This corner is on the cutting line. This tip is on the 1 inch line. And I'm just going to shave that off. And then instead of turning it weird ways, just flip it over. And do the same thing, seeing the back side of your paper now. If you just flip it, you'll end up with the cuts the opposite direction. So make sure you've just flipped it. And if you're not sure you've got it the right direction, do this right here and make sure what you're doing. That'll help you make sure. All right. So we've got our little basket. Now, one thing that I decided to do with this was to add a little inking around the outside edges. I don't do that a whole lot. And I could have just as easily gone back and cut cardstock pieces to go behind it. But I thought the inking was pretty. It just kind of makes it stand out a little bit more. And like I said about the eggs, it gives some definition. So if you want to ink the eggs rather than cutting a border to go around them, you could do that as well. I just kind of wanted some definition when I put it on this light background. I don't want it all fading into the background together. I'm not a big inker. I will end up with this all over my body, all over my studio. It'll show up on random pages 3 days from now. But I do think it's going to be pretty. And I don't have to ink the top because that's going to be covered anyway. And then I'm going to ink all the way around this little part of the basket. Now, these little daubers I got really, really cheap somewhere 100 years ago. And I use them when I do ink because it fits on the end of my finger. So the end of my finger is one thing that doesn't get dirty. But that's about the only part. So I know a lot of you have grandchildren, great-grandchildren, things like that. We had kind of gotten to the point we weren't having any Easter egg hunts because our kids were all grown. Then my grown kids decided they liked hunting Easter eggs, so we started hiding for them. And now that I've got the granddaughter, she likes hunting Easter eggs, so that'll be something we'll get to enjoy with her. And I think I'm going to stop right there on the inking. So to stick these things together, I'm just going to grab my tape and I'm going to put a little along the bottom here. And you could actually put it along the bottom edge of that. It doesn't matter either way. And I'm laying this on my mat because that's helping me kind of get things straight-ish. As straight as I'm going to get them anyway. I'm kind of looking side to side, top and bottom, just to make sure it's somewhat even. Of course, as I started to push it down, it all moved. There we go. And then to tape the handle on, you can just run a piece of tape there and here, or you can use your repo tape, either way. And I just turn that upside down and stick it onto my little basket. So we've got all the main parts assembled. Let me stop the video, tape the eggs together, and then I'll show you how we're going to finish this layout out. So one of the first things that you're going to notice is I did go ahead and ink around the outside edges of the eggs. I felt like that would help set them off a little bit from the basket once I get this all together. The colors are so very similar. There's not going to be nearly the contrast there was on my original page. But to do the backgrounds, I just felt like blue is a nice springy color. It just kind of mimics the sky color. And these two blue papers came out of the blue gradients. So those are relatively new. And I was shocked at how well they matched the blues that are in the Springtime Soiree. These borders also came out of Springtime Soiree. So everything in this collection should match pretty well. The only thing that didn't come from Springtime Soiree is the background. But you'll see how well the blues match in just a second. Now the first thing I'm going to do, and on this one I'm going to put my basket on the opposite side. So I need to determine exactly where I want that basket to go. And you remember I put about 1/3 on one page and about 2/3 on the other page. I'm just trying to get it underneath right now. And I'm going to do something about like that. And then probably stick the egg right back behind there. So when I get it laid out like I like it, I think the easiest thing for me is to just add some tape on my background paper. I don't need a ton because that border is going to hold that egg down anyway. Again, on the basket, just stick some tape behind there. I'm not even going to worry about taping that handle down because it will drive me insane if I do. But really all I need to do is tape one side first, go back with my 12-inch trimmer, and do my cutting. And I don't know if you noticed or not, but the handle had a little bit of play in it. It was a little bit bigger, so it was a little bit loose. And by cutting that in half, or 2/3, it has helped. But I've got a little extra edge there that I'll need to trim off probably with my scissors. And now all I have to do is line up the other part of my basket, securing that underneath the border, and then making sure that the top and bottom line up together here. And then this egg I'm going to stick right over here in the corner. The layout is basically exactly the same as I did last time, except I don't have any clouds that I have found so far. Now, I could do a border maker cartridge or a border punch. I do have a border punch of clouds. I haven't decided yet if I will do that, but I'll play around with it, and you'll see in the layout to come, or the picture to come, what I ended up doing. That is still just a little bit uneven, so just finagle that up a little. And again, photo placement, there are lots of places on this I can put my pictures, so I'm not real worried about that as of now. And I'll just need to work with that handle just a touch to get it in the right spot. And I probably will have to tack just an edge, probably using this repositionable tape. And we'll just get that lined up. And there again, there may be pictures over it anyway. So I'm not real worried about the handle until I get the pictures. Now, I know some of you are still working on older pictures, so you've probably got Easter's past. I am ready for this Easter now, and I love having these pages pre-done. So when the event happens, I already have in mind what pictures I need to take, how I need to position pictures, the fact that I need something smaller to go in this area, something smaller up here. But I've already got in my head picture placement, so that's going to help me a lot in taking those photos. So I hope you like this little Easter idea. Look in the at the end of the video or in the comments, and you'll see the other layout. So if you've got leftover older things, you can go back and do it using some of your older collections. But until I see you next time, happy Easter and happy scrapping.